Okay, hello YouTube. Today we're going to talk about how to take advantage of early f-pawn moves in the opening. So for example, e4, e5, knight f3. Let's say they play like an immediate early f-pawn move, this move pawn to f6. So if you like content like this and you want to see more of it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click on your notification icon. Now, early f-pawn moves are a little bit different than other early pawn moves. Like a lot of other early pawn moves, your idea should just be to kind of open the position as quickly as possible with maybe a move like d4, or maybe you would just finish your development. You might play something like knight c3 or bishop c4 and just keep developing, and that would be acceptable. But usually early f-pawn moves are in some cases so bad that it's better to take advantage of them kind of directly and brutally, just because you want to jump on this move as quickly as possible, and you don't want to give your opponent a chance to stabilize. So in this situation, this is called Damiano's defense. The main move here is actually just to sacrifice your knight immediately with knight takes e5. And actually, like, there are players that do kind of legitimately try to play this with black. They give queen e7 a shot here. But even after queen e7, knight f3, you can just kind of see the assessment here is already just major advantage. White, this is really supposed to be nothing special. They can follow up with d5, d3. They can even get their pawn back, but this is considered still just nearly suicidal for black. I mean, sure enough, black hasn't lost any material. He can get his material back, but it's an open position with both files open to the king, and black has extremely stunted development because he can't finish his development, and his queen is out, which is a negative. He's going to actually end up losing at least one more tempo, having to move his queen again. So hence why the computer is giving plus 2.5 for white, which is almost a full piece worth of material here. If they take the knight, if they accept the sacrifice, this is also supposed to be fairly bad. If f takes e5, they should be completely lost after queen h5. This is just really well known. It's kind of interesting that the computer gives g6 here, and then after queen e5, we're going to play queen takes e5, forking king and rook, and then we're going to take the rook, because back when I played chess when I was younger, people generally believed that this position was somehow survivable if you played king e7, which of course we now know that it isn't, but I don't know why anybody ever thought it was survivable. It's just absolutely so insane to me that you would think that this position by itself, this bishop c4 check, would be survivable. But the main reason people thought it was survivable was maybe d5 was possible. Of course, if you play king f5, it's really obvious, like king f5, king h6, and then just d3 or d4, and then g5 and then h4 is just threatening mate in 2, and it's fairly obvious even before computers that this was completely lost, because you're looking at moves like bishop e7, and then this is mate in 2 on the spot, so you're clearly losing here. But there were a group of players that thought that somehow inserting this move pawn to d5 was going to be very, very helpful. Basically, the idea is after bishop d5, you have king g6, and queen f5 isn't possible. So maybe this is survivable, but I don't know in what universe this makes any sense. We already have 3 pawns for the piece, and this is the king position. This blows my mind how anybody would think this is survivable. But the solution to this position was actually really simple, is you just play h4 and you threaten mate. And the whole point is they have to play either h6 or h5. Just to prevent pawn to h5, which is just going to be mating on the spot. Like h5, king h6, d4 is a similar idea to the previously discussed idea. So h6 or h5 is forced. The computer recommends h6, but it shouldn't actually matter. Either move should be pretty close to equivalent. And then the idea is simply bishop takes b7, which actually forks bishop and rook. Just keep in mind, you have basically 0 development here, so pretty much anything goes for white. If you can play bishop takes b7 and fork bishop and rook and distract the bishop, the game is of course still over after queen f5. Queen f5 on the spot is mate. And if they had played h5 instead of h6, apparently that makes basically no difference. Bishop takes b7 is the same idea. Bishop b7 and then queen f5, king h6, d4 is leading to checkmate. After g5, the computer says that you're mating after queen f7, but for us humans that don't necessarily calculate mate in 5 as quickly as the machine, bishop takes g5 check would simply pick up the queen, and plus 10 or plus 12 is more than enough to win a game of chess. But in just about all f-pawn, like early f-pawn thrusts in the opening, a crude response is usually correct. I had a game myself happen in the Philidor counter gambit, which involves kind of a very early, kind of crude f pawn push. They played pawn to f5, and I played this position a little differently. I played knight to c3 to just kind of hold that square. Although I think bishop c4 is given by the computer as being very strong as well. And then you have something like knight c6 and you go into this super sharp line, and this is considered a line as well. But I played knight c3, my opponent played knight f6, and then I played bishop g5, just creating this pin. And you can see the computer still loves me, it thinks I'm doing great. And then my opponent played another pawn move, he played h6, I played bishop f6, and of course my opponent was worried about queen f6, like his radar was on, like maybe queen f6 is a problem, because he could see that knight d5 was coming in, d takes e5 is coming in. You can see the computer's already giving +3. So he played gf, and I actually did play the best move in this position, which again just goes back to when your opponent has made these early f pawn moves and they've weakened this diagonal. It's actually just so important to get to this diagonal extremely, extremely quickly. And sometimes crude moves are the best way to go. Whereas in the opening, a lot of times we'll play just a developing move and we frown on moving the same piece twice. When your opponent has severely weakened his diagonal from the H file to the E file, it's not a bad idea to just play really crude chess and just get to that open file. And that's what I did. I played knight H4. I'm just going for this diagonal and I'm going after these squares. And of course, this is about as crude as you can get. I'm taking my knight, I'm moving it twice, I'm putting it on the rim, I'm breaking rules. But there's so many more rules that black has broken in the last, 5, 6, 7 moves. A great example of this is just like, the 2-move checkmate. It actually breaks principle, right? So like if F3, E5, G4, again, moving the F pawn. Queen H4 actually breaks principle. We're taking a queen and we're moving it to the edge of the board. But of course, it's a really good move because it's mate. So going back to the position in my game, E4, E5, we have knight F3, D6, we have D4, F5, we have knight to C3, knight F6, bishop G5, H6, takes, knight H4. My opponent tried H5, I played bishop E2, and now there's basically like no defending. Like bishop E6 got played, bishop H5 here, bishop takes F7, king F7, and I ripped on F5. Knight D7 got tried, takes, he took back this way, and then I actually started just going after his king. I played queen D5, king up, queen E6, he played king up again, and then he got mated pretty handily. H4 got played, king back, and then I mated him with, I believe I mated him with the pawn. I played knight E2, and then he played king E4, and I had this mate, and I had a bunch of other mates as well, but the mate I played was F3 mate. So I had a couple different ways that I could have ended the game, but I chose to end the game with F3 mate, and that was my overall decision. But the basic theme of what I'm talking about here is when your opponent makes an early f-pawn move, whether it's pawn to f6 or pawn to f5, be prepared to play some sort of immediate, harsh, crude move to take advantage of it, whether that be simply sacrificing your knight for the material to open up this diagonal with queen h5, or just moving your knight to the edge of the board to open up this queen diagonal to take advantage of the weakened diagonal with queen h5. Just be prepared to do that to take advantage of this move, because this move is such a dangerous, such a weakening move that you always need to be prepared to play these crude strikes to take advantage of it. So anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess, and I hope you can use some of these ideas in your own games. Thank you very much for watching.